What's going on, everybody? We are doing an all new, currently reading video. It's been a while since we did one of these, and I would have really liked to have gotten this out a lot sooner in the month, but as you know, I'm like a super busy person. I always got a lot going on. There's always something that's going on in my life, either with the channel or with just personal life. But we're gonna knock out a currently reading video, and the way that these currently reading videos work is that I pick 5 random volumes of manga that came out this year, and we go through them and talk about them. I kind of take a chance and see how I feel about them throughout the course of reading them, and for the most part I liked everything that I've read. So we are going to sit down and talk about these volumes. If you've read any of these, I'd love to know your thoughts about them. So let's fan these things out, and then we will go down the line, and then at the end of the video, I will say which one is my favorite and which ones I recommend the most. So yeah, this is currently reading Autumn 2023. Right off the bat, we got Akane Banashi. This is actually a really solid story. I remember I picked this first volume up in a haul a while ago, and I wasn't sure what it was about, and I thought it was about there's like this art style in Japan where you do like strokes, like kanji strokes or whatever, and there's like this whole elaborate way that you do it with like a paintbrush. That's what I thought this series was about at first. I thought that this was about that. That's what it kind of looked like, with her having this fan in her hand. That's what I thought it was. But no, it's about this art style called rakugo, I think is what it's called, where there is this entertainer on stage, and I kind of likened it to I think it's called manzai or something, manzai art, which is like a form of stand up that involves 2 comedians. But rakugo is basically one person that sits on a stage on like a cushion, I guess if you will, and they do, I think, like 2 to 3 different people. They imitate like 2 to 3 different people. They'll sit there and do the voices and whatnot for these different characters, like a play, but it's all one person. And it's not something that I've personally ever been interested in. I don't think I'll ever, be interested in it. But the way that it's done in Akane Banashi is incredible. This story has been solid. I'm like halfway through it right now. As when I do these currently reading videos, I usually read like halfway through a series, and then I give you my thoughts on it, and then I end up finishing the series later, and I'm like, damn dude, I should have finished it before doing the video. I like doing that in this way, because it's like I really am currently reading it. I mean, I'm in the middle of the volume, and it's not like I finished it and then I'm talking to you about it. Usually those are let's talk about videos. So basically, the story of Akane Banashi is that this girl's father, which is this dude right here, Shinta, wanted to become a rakugo, and he staked everything on this dream. He gave up basically having like any other sort of a job, any sort of day job or whatever, to do this thing. It's like, I guess, like if becoming a comic book artist or like a mangaka or whatever, or really anything in entertainment, you essentially have to abandon everything else in your life to pursue this one goal if you want to make a living from it. And chances are it's not going to happen. It doesn't happen for everybody. There's a lot of people that spend their whole lives chasing a dream that never comes to fruition. And for Shinta, that was the case. He chases this dream the whole of his life, or at least, in his later years. I don't know how much of his life he spends, chasing this dream, but it's definitely been since when Akane was a girl. She watched her dad and imitated him as he did his act and whatnot. And there's this thing that happens that I'm not going to go too into this. I'm not going to start spoiling too much of these stories for you all. But something happens when she's a girl, and it kind of ruins her dad's experience with doing this, and in a sense to get revenge for what happened with her dad, she wants to become a rakugo artist or whatever. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, she wants to do rakugo, and she is going to go in at like the lowest level. There's like 3 levels of it. There's, I think, before you get accepted by somebody, there's when you get accepted by somebody, and then there is like when you become a master of Rakugo, which I think is like Shuin or something like that. I'll put the different stages here somewhere of of like, each stage of, doing this art form, and how it built and whatnot. And it feels like a shonen. That feels so shonen, you know what I mean? Like it reminds me, it makes me think of like Hunter x Hunter, with like Nen and the different levels of it and the different categories, like specialist and all that different stuff that you can become once you I guess you develop your Nen abilities or whatever. You have like a category that you fall into, and that's kind of like what this is, but more structured and more realistic, with like you start at this point and then you become that, and then you can become a master, I guess, at some point in time and start your own school. If you've ever been a creative person, I feel like you can, relate to this story and to, wanting to do something creative with your life. And yeah, I think Akane Banashi is a phenomenal series. I ordered Volume 2. I already have Volume 2. I think I talked about Volume 2 in my haul video that I did like a couple weeks ago. But I do like this story quite a bit, and I do recommend it if you like sort of artsy storytelling. It's really cute. It's really fun. She's a lot of fun. Like, her as a lead is phenomenal. I have no complaints whatsoever about this story. I think this is going to be a solid read, and I'm really excited to see where the hell this is going to go in the future. So, yeah, if you've read Akane Banashi, I'd love to know your thoughts. Please drop them down below, and let's start knocking these out. We got Loves in Sight. This story is super adorable. I know I kind of talked about it a bit in my haul video, but dude, this is a great story. Like, these two characters are such, parallels, to each other. They exist on such an interesting axis. Like, he is essentially a delinquent, and then she is a girl who is blind. And I kind of like, the setup here with that, with her being blind and then him being a delinquent, and that Love sees no barriers. Like, Love doesn't pick and choose, based on ethnicity or based on skin color or based on background. And Love is blind. That whole saying, love is blind, that's literally this right here, where this girl can see, like, ever so slightly. She can see, like, I guess, like, shapes. If they're like super duper close to her face, she can sort of make out the blurs, but she doesn't, she can't really see like a visage. And like, yeah, I guess why not? She sees like silhouettes or whatever, and it's a really cute story with them coming together, and this dude who, just beat up all these different people in all these different schools, and would just go to different schools to beat people up, kind of like Tokyo Revengers or like Mob Psycho 100, where there's a character who does that sort of thing in Mob Psycho 100. And that kind of reminds me, that's what this kind of reminded me of with him, where like he would just go to all these schools and like just fight all these different dudes. And then he meets this girl, and for whatever reason, he becomes, I guess, attracted to her, and he wants to be around her. He wants to make her happy, and he really does everything in his power to try to appeal to her. And he tries to do different things. Like, there's one point in this manga where he goes to like a video rental store or something, and like his arch nemesis, works at this place, and I think he's like the manager or something like that. And it's really funny because like they have like only like self-help kiosks, and she can't use it because she's blind. Like, she can't see it. She would need somebody who is, like physically present to help the person check out, but I guess they're like super low staffed, and they just have like the help kiosks. And I guess that his nemesis's grandmother shows up, and he ends up helping that dude's grandmother. So I thought that was really cute. And there's just a lot of things in this manga that are super adorable. Like, she pretty much goes to like a school for, I guess, blind girls or just blind kids in general. I'm not really sure. And one of her friends there is completely blind, where like she cannot see whatsoever. And there's this really cute sort of moment between them where her friend tells her that she looks cute today or something like that, and she says, "How would you know you're blind?" And she says, like, "You just are cute." So I thought that was really adorable. This story has just been so much fun. I already ordered like the next two volumes of it, 2 and 3. I don't know if 4 is available or not, but yeah, dude, I've enjoyed the hell out of this. It's not gonna be for everybody. Like, this is definitely not gonna be for everybody. If you're just not somebody, if you like seinen and like blood and guts and gore, like some of my friends that watch this channel and whatnot, you're not gonna like this. This is not gonna be for you. This is just like a really cute, I guess if you will, like almost like slice of life, like rom-com type of story, but it's really segmented, where like each thing is like a tiny little vignette almost. It's like a little episode where they meet up, and yeah, they meet up in public or something, and they do the whole little number, and then that segment ends, and then it's on to the next segment. So it's kind of like episodic. Like, this would actually make a really good anime. I don't know if there is an anime in the works, or if there's going to be an anime in the works or not, but I think it would work as one because of the fact that it is, sort of episodic, and it's like a vignette. Like, each thing is, like a little bite-sized thing where they hang out for like 4 or 5 pages, and then it's the next thing, where they're hanging out for 4 or 5 pages, and there isn't really like a strong continuity. You know what I mean? It's not really building towards anything. Though, I mean, it could essentially be building towards them falling in love. Love's in sight, the play on words with the title. So, I mean, it could be building towards them, like, I guess, falling in love or whatever, but it's not really building towards anything other than that. It's just like little segments of story that happen. And I love their whole thing. It kind of reminds me of Horimiya, I think was what that manga was called, with that one dude who had all like the facial piercings and he had like long hair, which is actually a really good show. I never read the manga or read the light novel or whatever that was, but I loved the show. I thought the show was really good. So yeah, I do recommend this if you are a fan of this sort of a story. Next up, we've got Illustrated Guide to Monster Girls. What this reminds me of is Real Monsters and like Monsters Inc. I think a lot of you are like within my age range. I think typically like the youngest viewers of this channel are like in their mid-20s, like 25 and up. So I'm assuming most of the people that watch this are close to my age, if not my age. And that being the case, I feel like you probably know Real Monsters. Like, I used to love that show, dude, growing up as a kid in like the 90s. Like, I loved Real Monsters. Like, I gotta look, after I filmed this video, I gotta look and see if I can get my hands on like maybe a DVD or something of like Real Monsters. But that's what this made me think of. This made me think of that and like Monsters Inc. And I haven't seen Monsters Inc. or Real Monsters in a really long time. Since I was a kid. But that's kind of what this, evoked for me. It brought back that sort of nostalgia for those sorts of shows. Where like, Real Monsters, I forgot why they were doing the things they did, but they were basically in school, the way that this girl is in school, and the way that these characters in the story are in school, and that they're training to become, like legit monsters, and then Monsters Inc. They already are monsters or whatever, and then they try to scare girls, and then they meet the little girl, in Monsters Inc. And All Real Monsters, there isn't, a little girl that they meet or whatever and becomes friends with. But dude, I love that series so much. Just thinking about it now, that cartoon was so good, dude. And that's what this makes me think of. Where like there's these young girls. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them that go to the school, and I'm in the middle of this, and pretty much they go to school to try to become like legit monsters. And this girl right here is this thing called like a jiangshi, which I think is Chinese, if I'm not mistaken. I might be, I don't know. I always put, like something on the screen to tell you what it actually is, the thing that I'm talking about, because I suck at doing research. Apparently I don't know how to research things, and then I have to like look it up later. Instead of researching the thing before I do the video, I research the thing after I do the video, because I am an incompetent. I suck at YouTube. But yeah, dude, this story's been a ton of fun. Like, I wasn't sure what I was going to get myself into. I just bought it based on the artwork because I had no idea what this is about, and I honestly went in just blind. I do that with everything that I pick up, and for the most part. Like, I really don't look at the back covers. I will if I'm doing like a haul video, just to kind of like Just to not say like, oh yeah, I picked this up because I like the art, and then that's it, you know, and I don't know what the story's about, because I think that would suck. Because when I do my haul videos, like I want to talk about the thing, I want to tell you about the thing, and I can't tell you about the thing if I don't know what the thing is. And I don't like to recommend people things, you know, without having some sort of knowledge about it. But yeah, I would recommend this if you just like, just off the wall, just random stories about monster girls that, you know, are in school, kind of like Harry Potter-ish, I guess, if you will. There's like this dean or this teacher or something who has like a rabbit head, and this girl goes into his office at one point trying to steal like steal like a cheat sheet or whatever to pass the class, and she steps on like a pressure plate and it sends her to what she thinks is like the human world, and then she just starts like killing people left and right, only it turns out it's not actually the human world but like a training grounds. And it was really funny because like the teacher had spent a ton of time, you know, putting that thing together for himself to train or somebody else to train or something, and all that time and planning goes out the window, and she just completely ruins that whole room. And then there's this other girl too that is like a devil, and her and the devil girl have like this feud, and it's really really cute, really adorable. And yeah, the story it's good, dude. I've got no complaints. I like sort of this stuff going on right here where it shows you the different things that come into play in the story. And I kind of like that this artwork reminds me a little bit of Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service. Like if you've read that manga or seen the artwork for that manga, it has like a really similar art style, which I'll show you right here. About like as far as the cover art goes, there isn't really like a whole lot of depth to this either. It's just basically like these monster girls that are training to become like legit monsters in their, you know, respective fields. And it's a lot of fun. You know, you're not going to get much out of this other than just a random story about these girls in school. And like I said, it reminds me of like Real Monsters or even like Monsters Inc. or whatever. And this girl right here I think she is an interesting sort of a lead, because she is our lead into the story, and she's pretty much remained, you know, kind of like center stage. I don't think she's in like every single panel, but she's definitely like the lead, you know what I mean? She's the MC. She's the one that for the most part I think you're going to follow, you know, throughout this story. And yeah, dude, this would have been a good one to, you know, talk about during Halloween, but I had so much other stuff that I was doing for different videos or whatever that ended up just kind of like not happening. And I wanted to talk about it, so I figured, you know, I'd mention it in this November video. So yeah, I mean, I like the artwork. I think the artwork is solid. You're not going to get much out of this other than just, you know, just like a fun little story that I definitely think is worth checking out if you want to just read something to unwind and just some offbeat comedy to find enjoyment in. Alright, we got Blade of the Moon Princess. This is a ton of fun. This story, when it first started out, I thought it was kind of weak. I thought it was kind of childish. I wasn't really feeling it too much. But honestly, yeah, I didn't think I was going to like this, dude, because like I read like the first like 10-15 pages of it, and she just was really annoying to me. Like the beginning of the story, she just annoyed the living hell out of me. I didn't think she was a good character at all. But as it's gotten going and as she started to, you know, be involved with more stuff, I don't want to say too much, you know, because I don't like to spoil things on this channel. Like, I want to just give you an idea of what the story's about and tell you about the characters and whatnot. And I don't want to say too much about the goings-on, you know, within the story itself, because I feel like that's going to start ruining your experience with the story and with the characters and with getting to know, you know, the whole situation. But yeah, when it first starts out, she was super annoying to me. I didn't think she was a good character, and I was like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, you know, finish this manga, or at least, you know, I'm halfway through it. I didn't think I was going to be able to, you know, continue it on, but I just kept pressing through it, and I kept reading through it. And though, like, the first 10-15 pages of it, I found her to be extremely annoying, she actually grew on me a lot she's grown on me since then quite a bit. And as you can see, yeah, like I'm almost done with this thing. I was almost going to finish it. But I was like, you know what? I need to move on to the next thing so I can get this video out. Her name is Kaguya, and she is essentially like the next in line to become the heir to the moon. As you can tell from the title of the story, it takes place on the moon, and it's pretty much on the back panel as well. Like, it's not a spoiler because it literally tells you right off the bat where this story takes place. And she is next in line to ascend the throne. And much like, if you've ever read Elusive Samurai, much like that, the throne is usurped from her. You can kind of see that coming from like a mile away, dude. As soon as I started reading it, like literally within like the first 10 pages, I was like, they're going to take the throne away from her. And it's even on the back cover, dude. So like everything I'm telling you right now isn't a spoiler if you're like the kind of person that just looks at the back covers. You know, once everything happens, and you know, once we start getting going with her as a character, and she kind of develops, because in the beginning she's kind of like, she reminds me of like Timothy Chalamet in The King, you know, where he's just like a drunkard and just a womanizer and an idiot and whatnot. Only she's a young girl. She's like 14 years old, so she's not any of those things. She's not a drunk or a womanizer. But when we first meet her, yeah, she's super annoying, and she's like, doesn't really have a lot going for her. But as the story gets going, we start to get to know her, and we start to spend more time with her, and she goes from just being this goofball, you know, this young girl that doesn't want a part of anything, like Timothy Chalamet in The King, doesn't want to be a part of anything, to, you know, stepping up, and like Elusive Samurai, like that same kid who, you know, was supposed to ascend the throne, and he has his throne taken away from him. That's kind of like the same deal with Blade of the Moon Princess, you know, where she's going to get stronger as a character and as a person, and I want to see that, you know, I want to be a part of that journey. I want to watch her grow and see where her story's going to go. And yeah, pretty much what I've read so far, I like her interactions, you know, post, you know, her growing up spiritually, I guess, if you will, like growing up spiritually, because time doesn't pass in that way where it's been like 10 years or whatever. But she grows, I guess, like if you will, like spiritually, she grows as a person, and she even, you know, thinks about that, like damn, dude, my mom would be thinking like, those words are coming out of your mouth, you know, like that. I like that scene quite a bit. She's showing that she's matured, you know, there's that character development for her, and where she ends up, you know, in the characters that she meets, she's able to shape the lives of these other people that she was otherwise not supposed to be involved with, you know, because she's royalty, and she's supposed to stay away from it and stay out of the affairs of like peasants and whatnot. And it's funny because they kind of look at it, to me, in this world, they look at it like almost like, you know, nature. Like if you're in nature, you're not supposed to step in and stop nature from taking its course. You know, like if you see some animal eating another animal, you're technically not supposed to step in and stop it from happening, because that's just nature, you know, doing its thing, and you're disrupting that ecosystem. And that's kind of how they look at it in this story, with her stepping in and trying to save people, is that she's disrupting this ecosystem. But I like it quite a bit. I cannot wait to see where this is going to go. I already ordered Volume 2, so I should hopefully have Volume 2 whenever that drops. So, yeah, definitely highly recommend this. I think this is a really solid story. And then we got Heart Gear by Tsuyoshi Takaki. This is one of my favorite things that I've read. I almost was going to do Heart Gear as its own video, dude. Like, I was going to do a Let's Talk about this thing, but I got so much other stuff working. I already got a Let's Talk About that I'm going to be doing soon, and then also got my favorite manga of 2023. That's another video that's going to be coming soon. So I didn't want to, you know, drag this out any further. Otherwise, the video for this wouldn't have come out until 2024. Though I might still do like a Why You Should Read. You know, once I read more of this, once I read like maybe volumes 3 and 4, whenever those drop, I'll do like a Why You Should Read, because this is definitely something that I think is shaping up to be a Why You Should Read manga. And we'll do like a mini edit, you know, Why You Should Read here today for Heart Gear. I am in the middle of this, and if left to my own devices, I would have 100% have finished reading this story. Heart Gear is about this young girl right here who grows up with a robot, because it's just her and the robot. I think her parents died or something like that, and there is this thing like that's like a robot sickness. Like if you've ever played Nier Automata, that's kind of what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like a mishmash of like Nier Automata and Blam. If you've ever read either of those things, the art style is 100% Blam, and the story is 100% Nier Automata. Like a mishmash of the two. Throw in some like Blade Runner, and yeah, that's Hardcore. This story for me, as somebody that loved Blade Runner growing up, and that loves Nier Automata. I have a Nier Automata tattoo on my leg. I've got 2B tattooed on my leg. And then, just, yeah, Nier Automata, Blade Runner, Blam, which is a solid story as well. The artwork by Tsutomu Nihei is just otherworldly. And that's what this reminds me of, dude. There's so much of this, like, in the beginning that's so, I guess, rustic, and it builds. There's this build that is just, it's like, chef's kiss, dude. It's so beautifully done, dude. If there was a manga that I was just like, I haven't even finished reading this thing yet, but if there was a manga that I was going to say, like, that thing felt like a game changer. Like, it felt so gorgeously done. The opening, this feels like a film, dude. This feels like a Tarantino film, like watching Inglourious Bastards, where there's that scene where you see the officers, coming up to the Lapadite farm, and then he comes up and he shakes the dude's hand. That's kind of what this feels like, like there is this build, like there's this girl with her robot handler who's like her uncle, and they live on like this farm together, and then she meets another robot and he comes to live with them as well. And there's just this whole thing with this girl and the robots kind of living like a really simple life, and not much is going on, you know what I mean? Like there isn't a whole lot that happens there, and it just feels like a really slice of life thing. And then out of nowhere, there's this event that happens, and in like 2 panels, you know what I mean? In like 2 pages, it goes from rustic life to all hell breaking loose, and it couldn't have been any better done, I don't think. The way that it was all executed felt so flawless, dude. It felt so perfect. And I think this is honestly my favorite manga of the whole lot. And if I was going to recommend you anything, it would be Hardcore. This thing, like I said, if when you look at it, the artwork feels like Nihei. The story feels like Nier Automata, and it is just a gem. And I cannot wait to continue reading this thing and to eventually be able to knock out a why you should read about it. And this journey that these two go on, like him being a robot essentially, and then her being a human being. And there's this whole thing with sentience too, which I think is really cool. And it's something that's touched upon in a bunch of different stuff. Like Blade Runner touched upon sentience, and different things in like the cyberpunk sphere have touched on sentience. And cyberpunk is a term that's existed before the cyberpunk game series. So it's a term that's been around for a really long time, and there's a lot of different stories that have that sort of a thing too. Like iRobot, I think, also had a similar sort of situation to that. With like machines gaining like sentience and whatnot. And I love that sort of a story, dude. I love that sort of storytelling, and I think that Hardcore is doing that some justice with this girl and this dude going to essentially bring back her uncle that was her robot that was like essentially like her uncle, and cared for her and whatnot. And even though it was a robot, she felt like there was a certain humanity within him. And I think that this is going to become one of the best things that I ever read. Kind of reminds me of like Pluto as well. I know there's an anime now for Pluto, but I haven't seen it. I did read the manga for Pluto. I didn't finish all of the manga, but I read like the first like 4 or 5 volumes of Pluto. And I did a video about Pluto forever ago. And that is another one like that is just so well done, dude. Desuka's story as presented by one of the best mangaka ever, Naoki Urasawa. And I highly recommend reading that if you've never read it, or you could even watch the anime that just came out. But yeah, to see the journey that these two are going to go on, and the way that it opens, that with just like this rustic life, and then just being interrupted in like a split second by like this robot that has like this robot sickness or whatever. That's like robots gone insane, and the way that whole dynamic happens, and the way that it builds and swells, and then them basically leaving their peaceful home to go on this journey to save that dude, just feels so good, dude. It's like that's to me that's phenomenal storytelling, where it's like you're living this rustic peaceful life, and then there's an event that happens and it takes you out of that and takes you into the point where you have to leave your home, you have to leave your safety to you know to continue the story, to get to the next conflict, and to hopefully resolve that conflict and bring about peace once again. I think that's really beautiful storytelling. All right, so let's rate these things. Right off the bat, we got Akane Banashi. This is a great story that I really do recommend. If you want to read something that is fun and it's about, a really unique art style that is essentially like, really Japanese, like that is essentially, at its heart, a Japanese sort of an art style. And it looks like it's done pretty well, despite it not being something that's like, widely known in the West. As far as I know, I don't think I know anybody that's ever, heard of Rakugo. I've never personally heard of Rakugo until I started reading this manga. I had no idea that it was a thing that existed. But the way that it's done here, and the way that the characters feel, and the way that the story's told, I'm interested in it, in this universe. I'm not going to go out of my way to go look up a live performance of it, because I'm not like super interested in it, but the way that it's presented in the story, and the way that it's drawn and everything detailed by the artist here and the mangaka, because it's two different people that wrote and drew this thing, and it's solid, dude, and I definitely recommend it if you are, willing to step outside of your comfort zone and read something a little bit different. Then yeah, I highly recommend Akane Banashi. If you like quirky, offbeat romances, I think you're going to like this. This is definitely one of those. Like, if you like Tomo-chan is a girl, or like Hitomi-chan is shy with strangers, that sort of a stuff, that sort of thing. Like, Kubo won't let me be invisible. Like, that's what this kind of reminds me of. It's like one of those offbeat sort of stories that it's really cute. It's a lot of fun, dude. If you like that sort of a thing, then I think you're going to like Love's in Sight, because I personally loved this story, and I'm really looking forward to, reading more of it and seeing what blossoms between these two kids. Illustrated Guide to Monster Girls. If you like real monsters, or like Monsters Inc. I've never seen Monster U, so I can't compare it to that in any way, shape, or form. But I guess it's closer to Monster U, because they're in school, and then in Monster U, it's like a prequel when they were also in school. I definitely recommend this. Same deal. Like, if you like just quirky stories that you're not gonna get anything out of this. It's not high art in any way, shape, or form. It's just a fun story about these like monster girls that I think like die and then come back to life in different points, because I know there's one character that dies and then comes back to life and then is immediately killed again. Because I mean, if you have that rule in your world where like you can kill this monster character and then it comes back to life, I guess you're gonna do it. It works within the world, lore or whatever. But yeah, if you like just offbeat sorts of stories about monster girls. Like, if you like All Real Monsters or Monsters Inc., yeah, I think you'll like Illustrated Guide to Monster Girls. Light of the Moon Princess. This is actually a really good story that I think you should check out. If you're a fan of Tetsuya Endo, who did Tista and Spy Family, I think that you will like Blade of the Immortal. This definitely feels like a separate story from either of those things, where like, it's not a family and it's not about a girl who is an assassin. This is just about this one girl who is like coming of age and has what is supposed to be her rightful throne stripped away from her by usurpers, because they have a kid who's like a spoiled brat. I'm really excited to see where this is going to go, because I've grown to like her a lot as a character. And don't let, that I said that the first like 10, 15 pages were kind of hard to get through. Don't let that keep you from checking it out, because it does become a really good story, and it's worth, getting to read and getting to know this character. Hard Gear, if you're a fan of Tsutomu Nihei or Nier Automata or Blade Runner or just robots that gain sentience, then you're gonna like this. William Gibson, like Neuromancer, that sort of stuff. Only Neuromancer isn't really about robots so much as it is about people jacking into like the Matrix way before the Matrix ever even existed. But yeah, I mean, if I was gonna recommend anything, I think this is gonna be the thing that I'm gonna recommend, dude. I think this is right here one of the best things that I've read in a while, and I'm not even done with it yet, so I'm really excited to see how this first volume is gonna end, and then how it'll lead into volume 2, and then see where the story goes from there. And really curious to see how long this is gonna go on for. How long the story's gonna carry on for. But the artwork is gorgeous and visceral, and yeah, like I said, it reminds me of Blam, and it reminds me of like Nier Automata, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna say that this is the clear-cut winner of anything that I talk to you guys about today. All right, that was my time. These are the volumes right here. This is everything that we talked about. I know this video got kind of long, but my videos are probably gonna get long going forward because there's a lot of stuff I want to say. There may not be a lot of videos, in the future, but I'm going to put more time into them as I did, going into 2023. I put a lot, more time into these videos to make them, I guess, better than they were in the beginning. From 21, when I started this channel, to now, I feel like there's been a lot of growth, and I want to keep growing the channel. I want to keep doing more things, bigger things, and yeah, this is a huge thing for me. This is a huge passion of mine. Sitting here talking with you all and knowing that you like these videos and getting your feedback on the things you want to see and the things that you're reading and how you feel about those things, that means a lot to me. So just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me. It means the absolute world that you took time out of your day to spend it with me. And yeah, you could have been doing anything else with your time, but you chose to spend it here, and I appreciate the living hell out of it. You have no idea how much it means to me. So yeah, until next time we meet, I hope that you are doing well. I hope everyone you love is doing well. And yeah, I hope that you will take care of yourselves. Until next time.
Yo, it's himself, the Shadowrunners clique, aka Sleep Allah. Take you on a mental and live one day, y'all. Sheets, y'all. Guns, y'all. Yo, who got the guns, you got the coke. Hustling them through like big punch cholesterol before he croak. Rest in peace, but I bless in peace and live to one day lay in shoots. Rap over beats and tell wild stories, the mythology mystery. Choke on your own misery, fuck them, we're the wild bunch. Yo, I asked him if this bike could punch. This shit made me lose my lunch. Bro grabbed the rocket, I said chill before he cocked it.